Namaste and good afternoon to all of you. This is third day of our online classes. This video I supposed to send yesterday because of my personal reasons. I didn't send yesterday. So today I have sent this video. So before I start today's topics, so let us have a very quick revision of what we have learned in the previous class. In the first day, so we have learned what is electric current, the definition of electric current. What is electric current? Electric current is the amount of charge passing a unit cross sectional area of a conductor in unit time. There is one more definition, very simple definition, that is the rate of flow of charge. That is the definition of electric current. The second important definition we have learned is expression for electric current, that is I is equal to Q divided by T, where Q is the charge, T be the time. And the next one is define 1 ampere current. Very important question for the point of exam. Current through a conductor is said to be 1 ampere when 1 coulomb charge passing a unit cross sectional area of a conductor in 1 second. That is the definition of 1 ampere. Next, that is a very important question, that is SI unit of current, charge and time. The SI unit of current, charge and time are ampere, coulomb and second respectively. Next, we learned the formula to find the total charge passing through a conductor. When n number of electrons are flowing through a conductor, what is the total charge? How to find the total charge? That is Q is equal to N into E. What is N here? N is the number of electrons. And E be the charge present on each electron. What is the value of charge present on each electron? That is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. So on the second day, that is next day, we took different types of problems and we solved these problems. See, in the first type, these are very simple type of problems. You are given the charge and the time, and you are asked to find the current. A very simple type. In the second type, you are given the current and the time. You are given the current and the time, and you are asked to find the charge. So here again you are using the same equation, I is equal to Q by T. Then you are rearranging this equation. So to find the Q is equal to I into T. Then we'll substitute the value of I and T, will get the charge. In the next type, you are given the number of electrons. So, and time. You are asked to find the current. So here we use the equation I is equal to Q by T. Since Q is not given directly, in place of Q, we know that Q is equal to N into E. We substitute N into E and then we'll proceed. We'll simplify. The last type, you are given the current and time in other units, smaller units or larger units. Like current is given in milliampere. The current I is given in milliampere. Or the time is given in minutes. So in this case, what we supposed to do is we need to convert the milliampere into ampere and minutes into seconds. So we'll convert these larger or smaller units into SI units, then we'll have to proceed. Okay, continuing further. So we use a device called ammeter to measure the electric current. So in this image, you can see the ammeter image. So this ammeter has two terminals. One is positive terminal. So always we use a red color to indicate the positive terminal and black color to indicate the negative terminal. From the battery, positive terminal of the battery, we connect to the positive terminal of the ammeter, then negative terminal from negative terminal of the battery. See here, there is a pointer. You can see the pointer here. Pointer. So this will display the amount of current flowing through this ammeter in the circuit. So its capacity is 0 to 10 ampere. You can see here 0 to 10 ampere is the capacity of this ammeter. So next, this ammeter we use to calculate, that is measure the current through the circuit. It measures the current in ampere. Next, sometimes we also use another device, milliammeter. This measures the smaller quantities of electric current, that is milliampere current. So milliampere is smaller quantity of electric current. So 1 milliampere is equal to 1 into 10 raised to minus 3 ampere. So in decimal form 0.001 ampere. It's a smaller amount of current. So sometimes we need to measure a smaller amount of currents. So in such cases we use milliammeter. So in our lab we have both ammeter and milliammeter. So during practicals we'll see the connection of ammeter in the circuit. Fine. Next, connection of ammeter in an electric circuit. How we are going to connect ammeter in the electric circuit? So students, this is the schematic diagram of electric circuit, that is circuit diagram. So in this circuit diagram there are four components, electric components. One is battery. So it is a battery of 2 cells, and then a bulb is connected. This is the symbol of the bulb, and then ammeter, and then a key. Okay. So ammeter is connected in series with other circuit elements. What do you mean by series connection? So there are two types of connection, series connection and parallel connection. I will explain you what is parallel connection a little later while connecting the voltmeter. So your series connection means we connect one end of one component to the one end of the next component. Here see, the end of the bulb is connected to one end of the ammeter. Other end of the ammeter is connected to the one end of the key. The other end of the key is connected to the one terminal, negative terminal of the battery. So this is called series combination, connecting the components one after the other, end to end. See, in this circuit diagram, battery has terminals, positive terminal and negative terminal, when ammeter has positive and negative terminal, whereas the bulb, and this bulb is filament bulb, incandescent bulb, not LED bulb. See, this filament bulb has no polarities like positive, negative. So we can connect to any one of the two terminals. Even plug key has no terminals, no polarities. But since plug key has terminals, but it has no polarity, positive and negative, like filament bulb. So here the battery has polarities, positive and negative, and ammeter has positive, negative polarities, terminals. So even voltmeter has positive, negative terminals. So fine. While connecting the ammeter, should be careful regarding the polarities. The positive terminal should always goes to the positive terminal of the ammeter, and negative terminal of the battery is connected to negative terminal of the ammeter. Fine. This is all about the schematic diagram of the simple electric circuit in which battery, a bulb, ammeter and plug key are connected. Now We will take another circuit diagram. Okay, battery of 2 cells, a bulb is connected, ammeter is connected, plug key is connected in series. All are connected in series. You observe the direction of flow of current in this circuit. What is the direction of flow of current in this circuit? It is from positive to negative terminal. The direction of flow of current is from positive to negative terminal. So it is indicated by these arrow marks. So arrow marks are indicating the direction of flow of current. But so far we have studied electric current is nothing but flow of electric charges. So flow of electric charges. The flow of electric charges constitutes electric current. And these electrons are flowing from negative terminal of the cell or battery to the positive terminal of the cell. Okay. But we take the direction of current in the circuit from positive terminal to negative terminal of the battery. Then the question will arise. See, if flow of electrons constitutes electric charge, why can't we take the direction of current in the direction of flow of electrons? Why we take always the direction of current in the direction opposite to the flow of electrons? So I will answer this question. See, when the phenomenon of electric current was observed by Alessandro Volta in the year 1800, electrons were not discovered. He didn't know about the electron. He thought that electric current is generated or produced because of the flow of positive charges from the positive terminal of the battery or cell to the negative terminal of the cell. So he had given that conventional direction of current. We also call it conventional direction of current, flow of conventional current. Conventional current is from positive to negative terminal of the battery. He gave that convention, that is the direction of flow of positive charge, as the direction of flow of current. Later in the year 1897, electrons were discovered by J.J. Thomson. So then they made some corrections. What was the corrections made? So electric current is constituted by the flow of electrons through the circuit, not because of the flow of positive charge. Electrons flow through the conductor or circuit constitutes the electric current. So after 1897, they could have made this change. That is, the direction of flow of current through the circuit is from negative to positive. Why they retained the same convention even after the discovery of electrons then? See, there is a reason again. So by 1897, thousands books were printed. In those books, the fact, that is the direction of electric current in the circuit, was printed from positive terminal of the battery to the negative terminal. So it was not possible to erase this information and reprint, okay, the fact that the direction of electric current is from negative to positive. Therefore, the same convention was retained, and we are following the same convention till today, that is in future also. So this is all about the direction of conventional current and the direction of flow of electrons through the circuit. My dear students, with this piece of information, let us switch on to the today's topic, that is electric potential and potential difference. Okay. So now there is another important question will come to our mind. What is that causing the flow of electrons through the conductor or circuit? See, so far we have studied yesterday not yesterday, in the first day of our online class and second day. The flow of electrons, electric charges constitutes electric current. Then what is that causing the flow of electrons? What is that something trigger the motion of the electrons through the conductor? Okay, so we'll take some pictures and we'll try to answer this. See, in this circuit diagrams, electrons are continuously flowing from the negative terminal to the positive terminal. So because of this continuous motion, so through even the filament of the bulb is glowing. The moment the flow of electrons stops, even the bulb in the circuit stops glowing. Not necessarily bulb, you can imagine any other gadget in place of bulb. You can imagine an electric fan. So during the flow of electrons, continuous flow of electrons through this gadget, the gadget, okay, keeps working. So the moment the flow of electrons stops, even the gadget stops working. Gadget stops working. Then the question, another important question will arise at this point of time. Fine. This is the picture where the electrons are present in the conductor, but they are not moving. Simply the free electrons in a conductor like copper wire, aluminum wire, you will find a large number of free electrons. These are free electrons. Actually, they are not moving now. There is no flow of electrons by themselves. So electrons, they themselves, they do not flow. So something has to trigger the motion of these electrons. Then only a continuous constant flow of electron can be maintained in the circuit. Next, you can see in this picture, there are two tanks. One is A, another one is B. The level of water, I have taken water in both the containers. The level of water in both the containers is same. And these two containers are connected by a straight pipe. Do you think water can flow from A to B or B to A? No. So water doesn't flow from either from A to B or from B to A. There is no flow of water. Absolutely, there is no flow of water. Why water doesn't flow from A to B or B to A? What is the reason? See, before answering this question, let us add some more quantity of water to this tank A. So we'll fill the water up to the brim, up to the edge completely. Then the height of the water column increases here. Because height of the water column increases, so because of more water, more weight of the water, the pressure at this point increases. Here the pressure is less now. Here the pressure is more. So now water flows from high pressure region, this is high pressure region, to the low pressure region. So it flows. So water can flow from high pressure region to low pressure region. So if pressure is same, there is no flow of water. If there is a difference in pressure, water flow from high pressure region to low pressure region. So again in this diagram, so here the tank is kept at the higher level. Here it is lower level. Again water is flowing from higher level to lower level. Pressure is greater here, pressure is less here. So water is flowing continuously from high pressure region to low pressure region. Similarly, air, we have studied in class 7th also. Air moves from high pressure region to low pressure region always. See, I will take one more example to support it. So here is a horizontal surface. On this horizontal surface, a football is kept. Do you think this football can move from here to here? Unless you exert an external force, the ball doesn't move. But uh, without the application of external force, do you think this ball can move from this end of the horizontal surface to the other end? No. So now I'll make an inclined surface, not horizontal surface, inclined surface, and I will let this football to slide down on this. Now easily the football, even without the external application of external force, the ball slides down gradually to the bottom. See, what is the reason? What has triggered the motion of the football from one edge to another edge here? Whereas the football on this horizontal surface is not moving. See, here both the edges, both the sides of this surface are at the same height. There is no height difference. As there is no height difference, both are at the same gravitational potential. But here the height is more. As height is more, gravitational potential energy is more. So last year we have studied gravitational potential is directly proportional to height. When height increases, gravitational potential increases. Here height is 0 or less. So therefore gravitational potential is less. So object always moves from high gravitational potential to low gravitational potential. So if the gravitational potential is same, the object doesn't move. See, my dear students, the first example, the water starts flowing from high pressure region to low pressure. The second example, air starts blowing from high pressure region to low pressure. Here the object football is moving from high gravitational potential to low gravitational potential. Again, you can imagine a hot coffee in a cup. You keep this hot coffee in an open place. After a few minutes, what happens? So it becomes cool. So what happens to the heat, okay, in the coffee? So heat always flows outside. That is region of high temperature. The coffee is the region of high temperature, and the region of low temperature is outside atmosphere. So heat, continuously flows from the region of high temperature to region of low temperature. So in all the four examples, so the object, whatever it is, it may be air, it may be water, it may be a football, or here it is a heat energy, flows from high pressure region to low pressure region, high gravitational potential to low gravitational potential, here high temperature region to low temperature region. Let us use the same, okay, observed facts, and we'll study how these electrons are flowing through the conductor from one end to another end, or through the circuit from one end to another